know the lighting's pretty dramatic, but you gotta work with what you got. So I'm still working on my end of the year list. There's a lot of great stuff I still need to see, like... That's why that video isn't out yet, but in the meantime, I wanted to put out something quick, a quick little review for a movie I just saw, just to tide you over a little bit. So the movie I'm going to be talking about is the new Kevin Smith movie, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is exactly what it sounds like it's going to be. It's Kevin Smith kind of returning to form, I guess you could say, after making 3 movies that no one wanted to see except Kevin Smith, which is fine. You know, I applaud a director making movies he wants to make that are really weird and borderline experimental. Like, not that Red State and Tusk are complex movies, but Yoga Hosers is so weird, and no one could make it but Kevin Smith. Before I go much further, I need to make this clear. I like Kevin Smith. I like him as a personality and as a filmmaker in general. Smith's ability to make Clerks in particular for like no money and have it be this big hit is really inspiring and pretty cool. Love him or hate him, Kevin Smith has definitely left a big mark on cinema as a whole. And I genuinely enjoy the movies Clerks 2, Chasing Amy, and Tusk to an extent for like the schlocky goodness that movie is. With all that being said, God, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is the most embarrassing, lazy, and depressing movie I've seen in a while. The punchlines are about on par with Eminem's worst material in recent memory. Like, I'm talking about your booty is heavy duty like diarrhea. Like, that's the level of stuff I'm talking about here.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
This movie is the equivalence of meeting up with a friend that you were like best friends with in grade school, and you get together for dinner, and you know, it's okay. It's pretty awkward, and he's cracking the same jokes that he cracked in grade school. So he's going like, poo poo pee pee penis fart penis, which it's funnier when I say it than it actually is in the movie. The plot is the same as the first movie, and I have no issues with that. You know, the first movie is a really tongue-in-cheek, cute little movie, so I didn't expect this this reboot to do anything less than that. The whole movie is a road trip to Chronic Con so that Jay and Silent Bob can stop the reboot from being made, directed by Kevin Smith. Of course. But let's be honest, we're not going to a Jay and Silent Bob reboot for the plot. We're going for the har-hars. On the har-har meter, we need at least a 9 out of 10. We need some good laughs. Come on, Kevin Smith. What are you bringing to the table for this one? So how are the har-hars? Are they good? No. There was one time I did laugh, and it's in the trailer, it's not a spoiler, but it's when Silent Bob is in the Iron Man suit, and the special effects are spot on. It actually looks really good, and just seeing Kevin Smith in the Iron Man suit, the way that like Robert Downey Jr.'s face is in there, like, I don't know what it is, but it's really funny. But oh no, the jokes in this movie are lowest common denominator. And I know you might be thinking, well, Kevin Smith has never had the smartest humor. You know, it's always been really vulgar. And you'd be right. But the difference is, in those movies, everything felt smarter. Like, even in the vulgarity of the whole thing, it still came across more clever than anything in this movie. I rewatched some of those movies recently, and some of the jokes are pretty dated. You know, they're kind of products of their time. They always have like the cheesy rock music. And this movie did not make any changes. It's the equivalence of taking a book off the shelf that you haven't opened in 10 years, and you find the top and there's like a pound of dust on it. You just blow it off. It's like, it really seems like the pot just got to his head and he just does not know how to write original jokes anymore. And that's coming from someone who respects Kevin Smith. Everything just feels really tired and forced. Like, it's quite the challenge to get through this movie without cringing every 30 seconds. I'm not even exaggerating. Also, God, Kevin Smith just had to do it. He had to put Harley Quinn Smith in the movie because nepotism. You know, Harley Quinn Smith, she's a fine actress. I don't have a problem with her acting ability, but the way her character is implemented in this movie it didn't work for me personally. They try to hit emotional beats that I do not buy for a second. And the humor associated with her character, I also didn't find any of it funny. It was pretty cringe, bro.
Bro, you just posted cringe.
So you have all the humor, what's supposed to make your comedy movie a comedy. The humor doesn't work. So what else do we have here? We have more cameos and meta references than I've ever seen in a movie. Ever. I don't have a huge problem with fan service in movies as long as it serves the film and forwards the plot. That's very important. If it's just fan service for the sake of fan service, then you're just yourself off, to be frank. These cameos and references fail to serve any purpose to the film, and they just feel really tacked on and pathetic. Every time there's a big cameo or reference, the film comes to a massive halt. And some of these cameos are just depressing. So, for example, there's a scene where Matt Damon's character from Dogma is just there to give an update on his life. Like, that's the scene. There is zero context. It's just spliced in the movie for no reason at all. Just because, oh, he is a Kevin Smith character. He's been in one of his movies. Really? I get that your movie is meta and that you like making your references in a Kevin Smith movie, in my Kevin Smith cinematic universe. But why? It's so desperate. It's so desperate for Kevin Smith fans to just be like, oh, I love it because it's that Kevin Smith movie I remember. That's why it's really good. Like, so for the first 2/3 of the movie, the cameos are pretty lame and they're pretty obnoxious. But then it goes to a whole new level when they finally show up to Chronic Con. Not only do we get the cast of Comic Book Men, Clerks, and Chasing Amy, which, by the way, Ben Affleck, it is such a depressing cameo. You can tell he's in such a shitty place, and he did not want to be there. Like, he just looks like really exhausted, and it's just sad. Like, it's really sad to see this actor that I really respect just in a terrible place. But on top of all these like really embarrassing, forced, and upsetting cameos, Kevin Smith plays himself in the movie. So he's playing Silent Bob, and then he plays Kevin Smith. And yes, they make a joke about how they look similar, which had me reaching for the nearest blender to shove my arm into. Kevin Smith clearly guilt-tripped these poor actors into being in the movie because he had a heart attack. Which, genius move. You know, you might as well if you almost die. Like, good for you, Kevin. But it's a little slimy, is it not? Especially to stitch him up into being in this terrible movie. This is just another depressing example of a comedy sequel taking place at least a decade after the first one that fails to recapture anything of what made the original good, and it just comes off as pretty lame. It leaves us reminiscing of the good old days and wishing we were back in them, and wishing that this movie never happened. Kevin, I don't hate you. I know you're not watching this, but I don't hate you. I respect you as a filmmaker and as a personality. I took a picture with you. You're a cool dude, but I just did not care for this. This really bummed me out, man. And I have to say, I'm genuinely horrified for Clerks 3 now.